Good morning, welcome to this Mark's Reviews and Tutorials video. Today we're going to tell you how to make one of these planter boxes. We've had a couple of metal planter boxes here, but as you can see, the cheapy metal ones don't last that long. I've got a few here, ones here. You can see this one, the rust has really started to set in, and the one that we've replaced already absolutely came to pieces. We've decided to replace them with this planter box here. Now this is just made out of decking boards. This is a Merbau, however we want to say it, board. We've just cut it on a bit of an angle and deliberately gone rough. I haven't used a drop saw. If you want to get this all perfect and neat, then you'd be using a drop saw on all of these cuts. But we've deliberately gone the rustic look, and this is what we've ended up with. So if you want a planter box like this, we're going to show you how to make it. So for starters, just to explain the basic construction, it is two squares, if you like, sitting one on top of the other. These here are 13 centimeters, and the length, it really is designed for your box, whatever you want it to be, whatever width, whatever size. What we have done though, is from the top to the bottom, we simply came in 3 centimeters, and that's how we got the angle across the board down here. Then on the inside, we've attached with a metal bracket, screwing the two, holding them together. And then you see here, there's actually clear plastic has been put on the inside and then nailed on. Now that clear plastic, we've put it in so it all cups up. You know these expensive pots that you buy that hold a bit of water in the bottom? This does the same. So there's a little bit of clear plastic in the bottom, which cups up sort of 2-3 centimeters up to here. So that little bit of water's held. And then these bits of plastic come in and into that reservoir. So the plastic's important because it keeps water off the timber, so it's going to last a lot longer and not rot. This board will be able to dry out even when the soil is wet, because the plastic's there. And it also means that the water can stay in the bottom section here. We've then just got a board filling in the gap in the bottom. You can see it's screwed in here, holding it into place. And that's it. Very basic construction. But come around, I'll show you some of the pieces and show you how we made it. Here's the raw timber. Now this is just a piece of this, as I said, Merbau that we got from Bunnings. Now I am using a little Ryobi battery saw. Now I'll put a link through to these tools that you might need. I'm also using a bigger battery. These often come with just a small battery, and you might think that the small battery just runs for less time, but it's the same. No, absolutely not. In the same way you can't run a lawnmower with 2 little batteries, you put a big battery onto something like this and it goes with a lot more torque and a lot more power, and it cuts a lot better with a bigger battery on it. So using that saw with a bigger battery, that there is the piece we're going to cut the base out of. Once we've assembled the box, we'll then measure up the hole that's left, and then we'll chop out. That's just a piece of scrap pine that we had. Now you do need a hardwood when you're doing this. It can be gum, something that won't move and warp too much because it's going to be wet. But these are the 13 centimeter end pieces that I talked to you about that sit in on an angle like that. And you see here we've prepped these. You see they've been laid together like that. And as I said, from the square here, we just came in 3 centimeters, drew a line, and then cut them off. Now, again, what I was doing with the saw, if you try and cut on an angle like this and try to cut through, you're going to end up wobbling all over the place because your guide, right up until boop, it touches there, you're almost through the wood before you get the guide. So it's all just blind. You'll end up wobbling. What we actually did was drop the saw down, just hold it and drop it down. Now, of course, this is going to be a lot neater, cleaner, sharper if you've got a drop saw, but a lot of people watching these videos won't. It'll be a big lash to go out and buy something like this. You can, of course, cut it by hand. Mark it, cut it with a hand saw, a tenon saw. I'll put a link to one of those as well. So that's it. You see that sits nicely like that. And then these guys are going to come across like that, and you can see the form of the window planter coming into shape. So the next step in assembling this from where we're at now, we've got our drill here, and we're going to be drilling those holes down the side here, getting this as a marker. The first time you do it, if you want to get a pencil and just mark it up very lightly, you can. You'll notice the difference in color here. That's because this is the raw board as it's come from the shop, and this is the board when it's sanded. And we have put some oil on this. I'll put a link to that as well, just so that it's oiled. It brings, sorry, not on this, but on the pot you saw around the other side, it brings it back to this natural color and the deep red. Makes it look absolutely fantastic. That's the Merbau. That's what we're recommending to make it out of. So here, holding the two bits together, what we actually did was just put a metal bracket on the inside here. This was just an old scrap of metal and screwed it into place there, just holding the top and bottom together. If you're in a really heavy weather situation, you want to make it a bit stronger, you can mount a piece of timber in here and screw and glue both sides, which will make it stronger. We've chosen not to. We wanted more soil area and wanted it simple, and we've chosen just to run with a simple design. And as I said, we were going for a rustic look, so if it moves and buckles a little bit, we're going to be okay with that. So there you go. Next step is drilling these boards here. You do have to pre-drill this stuff so it doesn't split, and then we're going to screw like you saw, and we'll screw the box together and we'll show you that stage. Okay, so you get these in the right place, you put your board on here, and you know that you want to end up roughly halfway through the board like that, and we want a screw to go about there and one to go about there. Put your board down halfway, and there you go, you've got your little marks, and you can drill it square, and you know it's going to come into the end right in the middle and be where you want. Because it's hardwood, go in, you see how it gets caught in the end there. If you, with hardwood, just push and drill all the way through, it'll get really hot because it can't flick that there out, and that will get too hot, destroy your drill, make it go blunt. So there's the tradesman's tip. Just go in a little bit, come out, let the drill clean out, and then go through. Next one, halfway, out, and then go through. That easy. Screws we're going to use, and you can see they've got a countersunk head on them. Now that little bit that's on there, you can see, is actually to rip the wood a bit so it can dig its own hole, but this is a hardwood and it's in and out to get it to do it. So I've got a big drill that we can just touch on the wood to dig a little hole for us. So this will go straight in and sit flush rather than standing up. Now I've put the drill on low speed up the top here, and I'm just going to go nice and slow because it's so easy if it catches to go and dig yourself a great big hole, and you don't want that. I'm just gonna I've got the advantage that this drill's really blunt. That's what I want. Just touch it and rip it down that little bit, because the screw will do the rest, and then that'll sit in nicely. So just do all those. Takes a second now, but it'll make that head sit in. If you've got a countersink piece, of course, use that. But if not, then a big drill will do great, and then that'll sit in nice and flush. Also take your time to get your sander back and just straight over the top. You see there's little burrs and bits, and that'll clean all that up for you. Then we just mock it up, as in lay these in place. We've got our holes all drilled, so we're ready to screw it together. So it's a matter of lining up this edge. Just get it nice and sweet lined up with there, and then we'll screw it in, and then we'll do the same 4 times around. Now once you've got it mocked up and level, it is also good to give it a little drill in through here just to give it a start, and that way you'll get it as square as possible. And also, of course, what you don't want is for this to split as you're drilling and screwing. It's good to get a square on it, because something can look square, but in actual fact, once you get the square on it, you'll see it's not. So get it square and straight, and then drill and screw. Just do them one at a time. Drill and then screw one, and then come around and drill and screw the other, and then go around all 4. Okay, so if you've had a bit of success, what you'll end up with is 2 boxes with slopey ends like this, and one will sit on top of the other. There you go, like that. Now, alternate design, if you go a bit narrower and you make the pot only as narrow as one board, you can then use this one board to hold this all together. But we wanted to go a bit more, want to get a bit more soil. But if you can get a wider board, or obviously make the pot narrower, then rather than having 2 boards here, you can screw into that one board in the end, which will then hold all the pot together for you. So our next step, because we've gone this way with the bigger pot, we're just going to get some metal brackets into here and screw that into place so that these 2 get joined together. Now I've just used scrap, but you can either buy just a little metal strap or a fixing bracket and stick it into place. It can be done with offcuts of timber. It can be done with whatever, just to screw the 2 in place. What it is to be Australian, I've just got a bit of scrap here I'm going to use. You see, This is like a bracket to hold up a curtain. Something I've just chucked in there and kept, we haven't used. I'm going to use that one screwed in there like that to hold that in place, and we'll break it off here, and I'll use this one, drill a couple more holes in there and hammer that flat, and we'll use that one at this end. So metal doesn't like fatiguing. I do believe if I grab that and just give it a good old bend backwards and forwards a few times, that will break. You don't have to get a hacksaw and cut it, but let's have a go and see. Rip that open with my hands, then grabbed a hammer. I'm just up against a brick wall and just hammering it flat like that. I'll get that all to go flat, turn it over, hammer it till it goes nice and flat, and then I'm going to fatigue this joint here. And I'll show you what I mean by that. You just go flat, then you bend it back again where it was, and keep going until that'll literally tear through.